Hi, I'm Nancy Hart. I live on Johns Island. I garden on Johns Island, and I have for about 30 years. Welcome to my garden. So my garden is basically a tropical garden. Tropicals are my first love, although I do have a lot of natives and regular, more temperate perennials mixed in. If you'll come this way, the garden was originally laid out as a tropical garden, and all the bones of the garden with the walkways and the palm trees are the backbone of the garden, the skeleton. So when the tropicals do die down in the winter, there is something left. You'll come this way. This is an example of a native. This is duck potato. You'll find it growing in the swamps around the low country. And these are some of our very familiar salvias. This is Salvia redneck girl, and if you'll see, it's trying to bloom. They don't normally bloom until late in the season, like October, September. Why it's blooming now, who knows? And here we have the eucomis, the pineapple lily. I wish this had been taller for you, but you can see why it's called pineapple lily, because the bloom, the bud, looks just like a little pineapple. And here we have crocosmia, again, just beginning to bloom. This is the bane of many gardeners because it is very prolific. Some people would say invasive. But when it's in full bloom, which this will be just a mass of orange, it's kind of worth it. You have to kind of constantly hack at it, and you'll come on. And this is one of my favorite things about the garden are the fossils and the exotic rocks that are found. These were all picked up from a farmer's field in Gainesville, Florida. They're all limestone. So there's a large collection of palms in this garden. I think most every palm that will grow in the low country is represented here. Started out with the large Canary Island date palm. The smaller silver one were saw palmettos. This is a bamboo palm. Of course, we're standing underneath our native tree, the sable palmetto or cabbage palm. Here we have another example of a native palm. This is the needle palm, which you'll find growing in the swamps here. Moving further to the left, we have one of the sago palms, but it's a Taiwanese sago, not your regular king sago. Going up, we have Washingtonias. There are three kinds. One very tall one in the middle, you can't quite see the crown, and the two shorter ones. They were all planted at the same time. The taller one is probably 30 feet taller than the other two. Here we have some interesting little members of the palm family. These are diunes, which are found normally in Mexico. We have two different kinds of diune and one zamia, which is a ceratozamia or Zamia horridus. And if you go try to grab it, you'll see why it's called Zamia horridus. It's very prickly. Over here we have the hardiest of all palms, and that's the Trachycarpus, the windmill palm. It'll grow as far north as Atlanta. So one of my first loves are gingers, and I have a big collection of gingers. In fact, this is really a collector's garden. And I'm not the kind of person who designs and then goes find the plant for the design. I find a plant and then I look for a place to put it. These are costus. And everything will be blooming in about a month. It gets about 6 feet tall. There are certain types of it that are known as spiral gingers, but this is not a spiral. We have some more of that. Over here we have ginger zetoaria, and if you focus right down here, at the bottom, that one is blooming. You see it all the way over there by the, okay. Here's some more of the pineapple lily with a lot of flowers on it. This is all ginger. This is the variegated curcuma, Curcuma petiolata, emperor, and it has white flowers. Hidden gingers they're known as because the bloom sits kind of low in the plant. It doesn't sit above it like the butterfly ginger does. And for the, here's some, oh, an alpinia that's blooming. Okay, here's the alpinia ginger. This is one called pinstripe. It's actually a cultivar of our regular variegated shell ginger. And further on down the line, we have some of the spiral gingers, and you can see why they're called spiral, because the stem actually spirals. And these are getting ready to bloom. It will open up into like a big red cone. And this is a new spiral ginger that I just recently got last fall, which is blooming. It's called candy corn. You can see why. Whoops. With that pretty burgundy on the underside of the leaf. Every tropical garden, of course, must have a water feature. This is our water feature. We have a lot of fun with this garden. It's overseen by our giant frog, Louis Le Bleu, who is a Charles Smith sculptor, and he keeps all the other frogs in line. And we have water lilies. Most all of these are what are called tropical water lilies, but they're all hardy. Tropical meaning they're not native here. We've even had some lotus, which is that round leaf in the middle, which is not blooming yet. We have pickerel weed, which is a native to Florida. And growing on the waterfall is the southern maidenhair, and it's interesting, that came in with the rock. We didn't plant that. It sprouted from the rock. And if you go to Florida, where you see these caverns of limestone, they're all covered with this southern maidenhair, which gives you a hint as to what they like. They like sweet soil. They like calcium. They're the only fern that does, to my knowledge. So going on around, we have some Hymenocalus, which is the swamp lily. Right there we have just a begonia stuck in the pot. That pot hides some of the works of the pond. Elephant ears are another very tropical looking plant that we think of when we think of the tropics. There have been a lot of hybridization done in the industry. This is a particularly attractive one called Mojito with the black spots and whatnot on it. There's another cultivar which is Royal Hilo, which is black and shiny, unlike the Black Magic, which spreads with underground stems. This one does not, stays in clumps. Very beautiful. Here's another one, interesting, with that very quilted leaf and the purple underside. So some of you may know that I'm the former owner of Church Creek Nursery, which I sold a couple of years ago. And as this will attest, you can take the lady out of the nursery, but you can't take the nursery out of the lady. First thing I had to do, even though the greenhouses are still on my property and accessible, was build my own little greenhouse so I can putter, which I do. I have a lot of fun in here. And it's very convenient to some of my other crops, like my hops, which I grow for my son, who's a beer brewer. And before the end of the summer, when those are ready to harvest, that entire back wall will be covered with them. And they're in a pot. They grow in a pot, which is shocking to me. Another thing I love to do is grow vegetables. I have two vegetable gardens, a large one, which is up the driveway. too large actually. Too much time on my hands this year. If anybody wants any squash, just give me a call. And then a small one close to the house, my kitchen garden. And I have herbs and I have tomatoes and I have my citrus plants over here. And it's a lot of fun to come out here and sit and watch things grow. And I put a few, you know, I have some cut flowers in here, and then I have the Church Creek pink gaillardia, which we developed, and I keep a stock of because I like it so much. So this garden was actually designed on an axis, and the view from the front door, which goes all the way down to where the aliens, I call them, they're sculptures again done by Charles Smith, which are partially hidden by the giant squash plants in the other vegetable garden. These are olives. I've been trying my hand at them, and every year I get little olives, and every year the squirrels come and eat them before they're ripe. More elephant ears, more gingers, pop of color with the lantana. Over here we have another native, the Adamasco lilies, which are very beautiful, almost like rain lilies, type of rain lily. Another type of palm, which I forgot to mention before, the Mediterranean fan palm. So I want to thank you all for joining me today in this garden tour. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I thank you, and I hope to see you again soon.